Hey everybody, happy St. Patrick's Day. Today, welcome to ZR Chess, where today we're going over something that is really important to learn for endgames, especially with pawn endgames, but also with rook and queen endgames like we talked before, because rook and queen endgames often turn into pawn endgames when you trade off material, and you want to know where your pawns are going to be and how that's going to affect you. So, this is a calculation technique that is very important to learn, so you can calculate easier, quicker, especially if you're playing blitz games. And it's really gonna help take your game to another level. So let's start off with a pawn end game looking like this. We got two kings on the board and a pawn, and the whole calculation thing is we're trying to figure out whether or not this king can catch this pawn, right? And that's where we get difficulty here. So we kind of got to count. We got the pawn and the king, and we're going to count, we're going to go 1, 1 in our head. We're going to go 2, 2, right? And then 3, 3, 4, 4, and then 5, and king captures. So that's how we normally think about the stuff in our head, which takes a lot of time, a lot of mental energy, and if there's other pieces on the board, it's just going to make it really difficult. So in order to save some time, there's this thing called the square rule, and I don't know if you've heard about it. I honestly hadn't heard about it for a long time, but it's a fantastic rule that will allow you to calculate quicker. So instead of counting each move here until we get to the 8th rank with our pawn, instead we can look at this pawn here and how it squares with the edge. So we look at it's 5 up, and so 5 across, and we just do this whole square here. Now the rule is, if the black king is in this square, which he is because he's on the line, if he's in this square, then he's able to catch the pawn. Or if he's in this square, if he's out of the square and able to get in the square the next move. For instance, if it's black's turn to move, then he's good. He goes right there, he's well in the square, and he's going to get us. Or we move here to number 4, to h4, and he's out of the square, but he can move in the next turn. And that's the rule. If he can move in the next turn, then he's still in the square, and he's going to be able to catch us. So that's a good rule of thumb here. If we look at any position here, we can see the king is in the square, so he can catch the pawn. And we can know this immediately. You can also do it diagonally. If you look at the king here, and you take that to the edge of the board, well, that gives us a square right there. If these two were here and here, then we would go to the edge, get just the diagonal, and it's in the square. So that's another easy way of doing it. So let's go on to another example here. Now, does the king catch the pawn? So we look at the square, and we see that the king is here, pawn is here, and the square is here, right? Or we can do the diagonal rule here. Boom. All right, king catches the pawn, right? Wrong, because you forget the pawn is on h2. He's not going to h3. He's going to h4, and the square shrinks to the d file. The king can't step in the square next turn. So be aware of the two moves on the pawns, en passant, stuff like that. Things that are going to throw off normal rules. So in this case, if white's to move, black cannot catch, because that puts him outside the square once he moves twice. And white will queen. So something to be aware of. Now, if black moves first, then he's fine, because then he's in the square, and whenever white moves up twice, then from here he's able to jump in the square again. So we'll take another example here. This one's the same example. I must have put that twice on here. So twice, and then he's out of the loop. Alright. So here's an example with an extra pawn on the board. Now, what we're looking at here is we need to calculate not only how the black king can attack the white pawn, but how the white king can attack the black pawn. And it gets a little interesting here, because if white wants to, he has time to bring his king up and protect this pawn and push it to victory. The black king can do the same. However, if I use my white king and come up here, whoop, and come up here and solidify a victory here. Let's say this is normal king maneuvers. Then he's just gonna push his pawn, and there ain't nothing I can do. There's absolutely nothing I can do here. He's going to queen that pawn, so I can't protect my pawn. I have to go for his, and when I do that, he can come push it, but then my pawn's gonna queen, so he has to attack my pawn, and this is a draw position because we end up just eating each other's pieces, and there's really no way out of this without playing, without blunders. It's just gonna end in a draw. So since we can calculate that the king is, to go over the square rule, the king is in this square, and the king is in this square. This square is actually here. King's well inside it. Then we can go ahead and realize that each are going to have to eat the other one instead of protecting. Otherwise, the other side's going to queen. And I got one more for us here. Oh, I doubled up. No, that's it. So yeah, that's a square rule for you. Now, it's really helpful. There's a lot of different ways we can get into it deeper. There's different pawning games involving queens, rooks, knights. I'm going to do that in another video because it can get a little complex. I wanted to really introduce you to the whole basis of the square rule first, and then we'll build on that in the next video. So let me know what you think about the square rule. I honestly, this is huge for me. It's a game changer, because all the time I'm doing, I move here, he moves here, I move here, he moves here, and it takes a lot of brain energy that I should be using on calculating, checkmates and different moves and thinking of theory and such. So this is just a great save of time in a blitz game. This is a great save of mental capacity, and it's a good rule of thumb to know. So when you're looking at a chessboard, you can just look at it and know, hey, the king's going to be able to catch up on, and it lets you open up your mind to more creative stuff. So I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys learned something and it helped. Let me know in the comments what you think. Like, subscribe, and I will see you next time, and we'll do a little more detail on it. Thanks.